Who would have thought a nameplate like Kia, which is known for its latest technological advancements, its sporting behavior, its avant-garde styling, if you want to call it that, would come out with a car, a compact, that is so much roomier than other compacts, and best of all, so much simpler and more elegantly engineered than any of the competition, because it uses a lot of traditional values that mean engineering simplicity and also mean engineering excellence. And it's called K. Ah yes, do you remember, it was long ago, that there was a car called K? The K car, and it was made by Chrysler, and it was this strange little boxy car that took the world by storm for a brief period of time. Then it disappeared forever. But this is a K, but it's a different kind of K. It's a K from a K company. It is a Kia. And this is a brand new car for them. It is a midsize, and it is a very interesting car because, first of all, anything that's a car now, as in a sedan, interests me greatly because the world is trying to be taken over by sport utility vehicles. So it's wonderful whenever we get a sedan because they do a really good job at hauling people around. And especially this one, because this has a lot of room. It has this absolutely beautiful styling, and it's very economical. But most important to me, for some strange reason, is the fact that it's also very simple. This is a very straightforward vehicle. It has a non-turbocharged inline 4-cylinder engine, front-wheel drive, and a whole bunch of little niceties about it that make it very simple and very reliable. I think. I can't prove that yet because it's a new car. But whenever you remove complexity, you increase reliability. And you're going to hear me say this ad nauseum during this review because I really like the simplicity of this car. And yet, when I say simplicity, you're not losing any technology or anything else. You get all the bells and whistles that you want, especially bells and whistles that are extremely useful, like adaptive cruise control, and the latest in anti-lock brakes, and a very nice sport-tuned, fully independent rear multi-link suspension. All of these good things, and you get this fabulous, almost futuristic Kia styling. And you also get, of course, the sound of nature. But more than anything else, you get a lot of comfort and room in a car that drives very, very nicely. It handles well. It's not small. It is a full-size, a full mid-size, if that makes any sense, a full-size mid-size. I would say a large mid-size with a 107-inch wheelbase. And it's one of the greatest things I've seen in a long time in terms of just an overall package that gives you everything you need and doesn't have excessive frippery. And I'm always a big fan of that. This particular trim level is called, can you read that? It's basically GT line. That's the weirdest G I've ever seen. I hope it's GT line. We'll have to consult the Monroney and make sure we're talking about the right trim line. But if it has the word line in it, we're on the right track. But look at the styling, especially the rear end of this car. It's fantastic. And it has a really sloping trunk and a very small looking trunk on it because of just the way the lines of the car and the fastback lines of the car, but it actually has a very roomy trunk, as you will see very briefly, very soon. And we'll explain to you how they do this, how they get all this trunk room out of what appears to be a car really devoted to rear seat passenger room. And also, as I will show you later, but I'll show you now too, look at this rear. This is how we get in the rear seat right there, you see. It doesn't have one of these, it has one of these. And it's all part of the styling exercise, but it's a funny thing. It's also easier to open the rear door. I don't know why that is. It's just at a more convenient height, I guess. But the rear end of this car almost looks Bentley-esque to me. And the overall styling is, again, the Hyundai Genesis Kia group, which is all part of Hyundai, has some of the best styling people in cars, in my opinion, that are out there. They do such an amazing job. There is a family resemblance, but there's also a very distinctive look to all their cars, and they look beautiful. They look so contemporary, but in a good way. And it's not a big, fat, slabby looking thing. It is much more attractive than that. It's much more aerodynamic. So without further ado, we'll look a little closer, and we'll go underneath this very simple but very functional hood and look at the very simple yet very functional drivetrain. Well, first things first, this car has the heaviest hood I've encountered in a very long time. There's no way it's made out of aluminum because it weighs a ton. And yet the car itself is not a heavy car. It weighs under 3,000 pounds. It's, hey, stop that. The wind, she's a-howling. Your curb weight is 2,956 pounds. So it's a very light car. And yes, the hood is massively strong and heavy. I'm not sure why that is. But here's our engine. We have a SmartStream G double overhead cam, 16 valve inline 4-cylinder engine, displacing 2 liters. Now something really interesting right off the bat. Everybody's going crazy mad with their direct fuel injecting, right? And including Kia, Honda, and everybody else, they have direct injection engines, but this is a multi-point fuel injection engine, which means it is a port fuel injected engine. That's great because of the two, you can make a lot of arguments about the greatness of fuel injection in terms of when you directly inject it, you get better efficiency in burning. Yeah. But it also adds a lot of complexity. Excuse me. And it also, the thing about direct injection is that you have to have a wickedly powerful fuel pump in order to overcome the compression of the cylinder, because it actually squirts the fuel in right directly in the cylinder during the compression cycle. So it has to overcome the compression of the engine. So therefore the pump has to be really strong. This, on the other hand, is the more traditional type of fuel injection, which more than anything else is simple and on a lower pressure system. How does that work? All it does is it takes the air, which incidentally comes in right here, and goes directly into the injection system, which is this excuse me, this side of the 4-cylinder engine is your intake side. And it squirts the fuel in during the intake process in terms of the stream of air that's going into the cylinder, but not in the cylinder yet. So it's a much lower pressure situation, and that means that the pressure of the fuel has to be much lower than a direct injection engine. And direct injection engines are safe, but I'm always concerned about, because I worry, that incredible high pressure fuel, if something happens like an accident, that it's going to shoot fuel all over the place. Now the manufacturers have done an amazing job at putting safeguards in the system so it immediately shuts off the pump system should anything be breached anywhere, in microseconds or something like that. It's really quite impressive. But with port fuel injection, you don't have the urgency of shutting down the fuel because it's not at near as much pressure. That's one good thing about port injection. The second thing, and the second thing is it's much less complex in general. The third thing that is really interesting is direct injection engine also tend to accumulate carbon in the intakes over time. And in other words, once your car hits about 100,000 miles, there's a lot of direct injected engines that have to have the carbon cleaned away because it accumulates. That does not happen with port fuel injection. And in fact, a lot of companies, Toyota comes to mind, has their fuel injection system involves both. It has both direct injection and port fuel injection. So depending on the circumstances, there are driving situations and engine loads that direct injection is better, and driving situations and engine loads where port fuel injection is actually better, more fuel efficient. But the fact of the matter is, with port fuel injection, it tends to clean out that carbon. So that's how they deal with the carbon problem. This car never has the carbon problem ever because it's just port fuel injection. So again, simplicity, cleanliness, if you will, and a lower pressure. All these things make for good. That's one of the reasons I like this, the greater simplicity that you get with port fuel injection as opposed to direct injection. Now, what else do we have here? Where's my, here, let me get the documents. Our output of our 2-liter SmartStream engine, SmartStream G, sorry, G is in golf, is 147 horsepower, it's 6,200 RPM, and 132 pounds of feet at 4,500 RPM for your torques. And that don't sound like much, and it ain't much, but the car only weighs 2,900 pounds. And with the transmission we have in it, which is called an intelligent variable automatic transmission, which is a CVT, but it's intelligent. It thinks. Well, it doesn't. There's no such thing as a thinking computer, but it does, in fact, do a real good job of getting all the power available to the ground very efficiently. I believe you can also get an 8-speed traditional automatic with this engine. And in the manual mode, you have 8 forward speeds to pick from. So it also has, it's very strange, this particular continuously variable transmission has what feels like shift points like a more conventional transmission. I don't know if that's literally to get the feel right or if there's a pure engineering reason why they've done it, but it feels a lot more like a normal transmission, automatic transmission, than a continuously variable one. It's magic. We'll drive around, you'll see it. I'll comment on it. It's very interesting. Now, look at all the room we have around. Here's the engine. Here's the engine. Your cams are right in here. Your adjustable valve timing and all that stuff is all right there. Look at all the room out here. Here's your superstructure to help maintain, or not maintain, but eliminate vibration as much as possible. Your serpentine is right here. All this room around the engine. In the back here, that's our exhaust manifold and everything else, but there's no turbocharging or any of that nonsense. I kid the turbocharging, I really do. And we come around here, and here's our 12 volt with our little koozie around it. I don't like that koozie, it's not very attractive. But here is pretty much everything, folks. It's like very, very straightforward, this engine. And it has the beauty of having all this space around it, which helps in general cooling. And it also just has a nice big radiator, and I think naturally an air conditioner condenser, and possibly an oil cooler for the transmission. I'm not sure, maybe not, but it's so straightforward. It has so many fewer parts than a turbocharged counterpart. It really, really does. And so simplicity equals reliability. Thank you very much, in my opinion, anyway. This is a cooler of some sort, isn't it? No, that's just electronics. Here's your fuse box right here. And that's it. And Bob's your uncle. I mean, there we have a very elegant, simple, lovely little inline 4-cylinder engine driving the front wheels. This is front wheel drive, this car. And it's about as simple as it can get these days in this modern age of 2025-ness. So, with further ado, let's look further. Let's look for some more simplicity. The inherent peacefulness of examining the instrument cluster. Isn't it nice out here? We have I removed the roof and everything else so that you can hear the forest. Well, no, I didn't do that. That's just our sounds of nature. A Hyundai Kia Genesis exclusive. And of course, we're in the lively forest as usual. Our K4 has a very, very nice instrument cluster / center display setup because it's all, as you can see, it's all one thing. It's one big horizontal item. And I think it's very, very well executed. First of all, you have your instrument cluster, and I've got it set. You have a couple of different variations you can pick from here. And I shall do now cluster. And there's a welcome sound you can turn off if you want, but I like it. Cluster theme selection. And this is called circle, strangely enough. I would call it analog. That would be me, but because it mimics the mechanical analog, of course, but it is actually a flat screen, high definition affair. Now, if I go to simple, look at there, we go straight digital. Not near as interesting as far as I'm concerned, and this whole thing can be linked to whatever drive mode you have to be in. And in order to change your drive mode, what do we have to do? Well, I'll tell you. We'll go back to our major setup and go to vehicle and driver assistance, climate seats up, right. I don't immediately see, which is a very unusual situation actually, a straightforward dedicated switch for your drive modes. And I'm looking around and there is a mode setup, but I believe it is for your radio, which is right here. But, however, if you drop down here, drive mode. So then we have sport, normal, sport, normal. This is normal, and this is sport, and you can tell because it's red. Sport is always red. That's one thing that we have standardization across the industry, it appears. If you select a sport driving mode, you will get a red color theme. So I'm going to stick with the round or circular instrument cluster because I really like the traditional look of this. And incidentally, immediately to the right of the instrument cluster, you actually have your climate control, which is right in here. And this is where you can adjust many things. The temperature adjustment for your climate control is actually right down here. So if I want to change the temperature we're at, like say go down to 68, there we go. And naturally you have your ability to sync and non-sync, and your dedicated front and rear window defroster situations. And we're on automatic, and you can actually regulate the fan speed on automatic. So that's where they've put this. Instead of having down here where in the past it was kind of a Hyundai Kia thing, they've moved that to here, and it is in fact touchscreen. So again, I'm always there's a lot of things I think touchscreens work well for, like maps. That's pretty much it. I'm still big on non-distracted driving, and the manufacturers are in this situation right now where they have to deal with the fact that people want all this technology and flat screen technology, and a lot of the drivers that they're aiming at. A car like this, incidentally, is aimed at, I believe, a younger driver because it's very affordable and it's a very solid piece of transportation. And it's a great alternative if you don't want an SUV. It's just a nice front drive sedan with plenty of room in it. And one of the things, the recurrent theme in this, as I've already shown you with the engine, is simplicity. It's a very simple operation, and simplicity is the road to reliability. So that's one of the things I really like about the K4. There's not a lot I don't like about it, actually. It drives really nicely.
But just the fact that there seems to be a theme of making it simple, everything you need, nothing you don't sort of mentality. So anyway, on our steering wheel, our left side is basically our cruise control center as well as our message center. We'll start with the message center. Right now I have this particular display up. If you hit this, you can go to a compass, right? Or you can go to, would be a display if you had your adaptive cruise control active, telling you in detail what's going on when you're behind a car and that kind of thing. And naturally with adaptive cruise, using this right here, you can adjust your following speed and it'll regulate the following distance between you and the car in front of you. This, of course, will turn on the lane steering, and I think, what do they call it? They call it driver assist. Let's see here. It's what we have is highway driving assist. I believe that's what they call that. When you have everything activated, you'll have an adaptive cruise control, and it will also keep you in your lane as best as possible using a variety of things. A camera, either LiDAR or radar, I believe it's LiDAR on this car, to keep you in your lane. So that's all. And if you don't want to use the steering, you don't have to. And I believe there is a setting if you don't want to use adaptive cruise control and instead want to use regular cruise control. One thing that I test on this car, because I didn't have any choice, because I got caught in some stop and go traffic, quite a bit of it actually, is it works very nicely in stop and go traffic, which is a terrific thing, because that way you're pretty much assured of not ramming into the car in front of you as you're creeping along, and it just makes it reduces fatigue a bit, which is always good. So on our left side, that we've pretty much covered everything here. And this, incidentally, if you want to change what's in this particular, you can't do it on this screen. But if you go to what I call the trip computer, you can change exactly what you're looking at. Here's our current trip. Here's our tire pressure display. Here is our since last reset. And here is since refueling, which is what I always depend on to give you a mileage indicator of what kind of gas mileage I got with this thing. And I'm always a bit on the low side of the estimate, just because there's a lot of idling involved when I review these cars. But it's, for the most part, I feel like the EPA estimates on cars the last, I'd say 2 or 3 years, has been more accurate than it had ever been before. Usually the car falls right in the boundaries that are set up by the EPA as far as what it thinks your mileage is going to be. So that's good. So that's a good, when you are shopping and want to find fuel efficiency, that's a pretty good one to go on these days to give you a rough idea. That's probably about what you'll get. Naturally, you can easily ruin that by driving like a maniac, or you can increase it by driving like a very old person or someone that's just very interested in saving gas. So anyhow, as we move to the right, we have over here, this is more of our radio control area. This is our, is this a favorites? No, this is a, this is becoming very common, by the way. When you see a star, usually it is a switch that you can adjust to do different things depending on what you'd like. For example, if I wanted it to change radio bands, I could probably set that up. It's just, it's up to you as to what that switch actually does, which is interesting. That's becoming pretty universal on all kinds of vehicles now. Here's your telephone access. Here's if you want to speak to the car. Call John Smith. No, do not call. Cancel. Cancel. Yeah, anyway, if you want to interact with your car via auditory prompts is what we like to call it. There you go. Here's our paddle shifters for our automatic transmission, which is a intelligent variable transmission, is what they call it on this car. And there's also an 8-speed standard type of transmission available depending on the trim package. But this definitely has your intelligent variable automatic on it. Yeah, I was there's something real interesting about driving this car in that it feels more like a conventional automatic transmission, the way they've programmed the variable transmission. So in general, what I've experienced, especially with the latest generations of variable transmissions, is they're very good with fuel economy because they are constantly selecting exactly the ratio. There is no set ratios, so it will pick exactly what needs to be done as far as most efficient power application to get the car down the road as efficiently as possible. So they work pretty well, but they have their drawbacks, as you probably know if you've driven one. A lot of them have more of a rubber bandy feel about them. They don't feel like what you're accustomed to with a conventional automatic, and that's one of the reasons I think they're doing a lot of programming like on the K4, whereas it feels a lot more like a regular, you feel like shift points. So it's interesting. It's a very interesting transmission, actually. All right, moving on. So that's everything here. Here's our paddles, our windshield wipers are over here, our lights are over here. Down here is our parking brake, traction control off, and our rheostat for adjusting the intensity of your dash lighting, dashboard lighting, or your cluster. Now, off to the right, we have a let me put the map up. This is a really nice display. I have it on the dark mode because I prefer the dark mode myself. The light mode, the daytime mode as they call it, often is good. But I just find it a little too bright. So by leaving it on night, I find the map just easier to read. But either way, high definition, very, very clear. A little bit of 3D to it. It's nice. It works very, very well. And the navigation system itself seems to work very well. Well, as we drop down here, here's home. Let's go home. And you can see here's our graphic for our sounds of nature. In the map and search, wow, it has its own search function. Look at that. And you can enter POI, a point of interest, address, setup, contacts, media, whatever. It's all there. Interesting thing, sort of new. Here, incidentally, you don't have any radio knobs, but you do have this. Here's our center rolly volume thingy, but you also have a rolly volume thingy on the steering. And they're very close to each other, here. So why do you have both of them? I don't know, but that's what they want you to have. And here's our star. I mentioned this earlier. Please connect to a phone that supports Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. Oh, that's what that does. For more information, scan the QR code. Boy, we're getting in a weird area with all this, aren't we? I think so. And here's our setup where you can access all these different menus to fine-tune your Kia K4 experience. So anyway, very, very nice display. I think it's an excellent size for the inside, for the interior. And as you can see, it's mounted nice and low so that it in no way ever obscures anything up here as far as your visibility. Unfortunately, to do a lot of things, you have to look at this screen and you'll take your eyes off the road, but you still have ways of avoiding that in some circumstances. I mean, it's not completely, it hasn't gone completely the Tesla route, which is a good thing because that car, in my opinion, has been overdone as far as visual displays since its inception. The current generation, I should say, because of course you remember the original Tesla was a Lotus with an electric motor in it, basically. But that's neither here nor there. Down here we have, like I said, our temperature and our fan speed here. Here is our mode. This is for our radios right here. No, I'm a liar. This is modes for your climate control. How about that? So we do have dual setups here. Look at this. Look at this here. We have this up here and we have this down here. So your climate is accessible. That's for sure. And these are switches that you could probably navigate very easily without taking your eyes off them. So interesting, a hybrid, if you will, between the touchscreen and a physical switch arrangement. Down below, we have all kinds of things. We have our QI phone charger. We have our USB-C ports right here, here, and here. Then you push this, and this open. Whoa! Look at that. Your 12-volt access just pops open like that. That's amazing. Amazing. For reasons beyond me, but that's okay. Start stop is down here instead of being up here where you normally see it. It's right down there. We have a wonderfully conventional gear shifter. Straightforward as all get out. And we have 8 forward speed manual setting, manual mode, so you can go plus and minus on your gear selection, or you can use the paddles. So again, a very straightforward and really conventional setup for your drive actuation system, also known as your shifter. There's our, when I just turned on our rear camera, and there is no other camera, but there's different settings on that rear camera. Isn't that something? Look there, look there. That's like straight down. To me, that implies that is set up for a, if you had a trailer hitch on there, for backing up a trailer hitch, I think. But I saw nothing in the specs that said this thing is recommended for towing, anything. So I don't know, but these are all very good. I like this wide angle in particular. That's kind of great. So there you go. That's accessible right there, and naturally the camera comes on when you put the car in reverse. What else? What else? We have cup holders. We have adjustable cup holders here. This is your unit right here. You can lock it right there, or you can do that, and that's just neat. I don't know how to explain that, but push this one, and there's one there. So you can fine tune your beverage size. Apparently, you can put your enormo gulp in there, or you can put something more conventional like your regular coffee holder device thing. Now, here we have, oh, that's a steel straw. We have our console, and there's actually a fair amount of room in there. Works great. It's not enormous, though. Let's have a look in our glove box, see how much room we have there. Yeah, the glove box is actually pretty roomy, and you could definitely get a tablet computer in there without too much hassle. So I always want to know if there is a place to stick a tablet, because a lot of people have tablets with them. And like if you're a sales type oriented person, a lot of times you'll get back out to the car and want to record something on your tablet. And so I always like it if there's a very easy way to access your tablet when you're sitting in the car, not when you're driving, or of course if your passengers in it, they can certainly access it. But most glove boxes these days, if the car has a glove box, because I see more and more these days that don't, you can easily get a good tablet in there. Sometimes you could even get a smaller laptop in there. So we're food for thought. So what else? Above we have our sunroof, and we very easily controlled. Here is our shade right there. Voila. Opening like that, and you stop it where you want to. There you go. And it tilts, I believe. Do you tilt? Yeah, you do. Do you tilt? You sure do. Oh, that's smart. Yep. So that's a beautiful thing. Now, this is interesting also. We have a completely conventional rear view mirror. There's no automatic dimming or anything else. You just flip it up and down. Remember those? So does Kia. And it brings the cost down because it's much less expensive than the ones that are electrically powered that actually dim themselves. And it ain't gonna do anything weird electronically on you because there's nothing to mess up. So again, reliability through simplicity. Further, we must acknowledge the seats. Now these seats are a mix of, what are these seats? They have interior, there we go. These are in fact premium cloth seat trim. No, we have a GT line is our our trim line, and this includes in addition to a lot of wonderful sport tuned multi-link rear suspension. I wonder if it's only the rear suspension is sport tuned. That's what it looks like it says, huh? But anyway, we have cloth and Syntex seating material. So I don't know where the cloth is, because I think this thing feels like it's all Syntex, which is good. Syntex is good stuff. We have heated to our seating, right? Do we? Do we? See, I can't find it, so that doesn't mean anything. But I don't think this car has heated seats, which is really weird. Heated front seats, yeah, it says so, but where is the switch for that? ¿Dónde está? Well, I don't see it. I'm sure it's here, and once I find it, I'll let you know. I'll look for it. It's weird that I can't immediately put my eyes on it. It's probably a snake that will bite me. But it does have heated, does not have ventilated seats, but it does have heated. What the heck is this? What is that if I press that? Oh, wait, do that again. Sync. No. Nothing there about the heated seats. Isn't that weird? Well, we are looking together. Wait, maybe over here. Maybe down there. No. There's your gas. There's your trunk, your trunk release, by the way. This car has a trunk. And here's your hood. But where is the... Aha! Oh, no, that's not it. Yes, it is. And it is ventilated. I tell a lie. Here's our heat, and here's our ventilation. And I'm turning on the ventilation, and oh yeah, I can feel it. So, these are heated and ventilated. Boy, I'm glad we looked around together and found it, huh? Kind of unusual to have it over here, but it's perfectly logical. It makes sense. And naturally, the passenger side has their access right there. So I'm so used to seeing heated seats and ventilation right down here that it threw me for a loop. But together, we overcame. So more on these seats, these Syntex seats. They have pretty decent side bolsters, and the car corners quite well. And they're also, if I may say, very good-looking seats. They're almost very futuristic. These headrests are kind of wild and free. So I really like the way they've done this interior. It's actually very classy. It's not over the top in any way, shape, or form, and yet it's very functional, and it's also very handsome, if I may use the term handsome. Now we got what go here. Look at, watch it. I'm gonna make its light go on here. No, I'm not. There we are. It has its own dedicated switch. Look at that. Huh. Very interesting. So let's go in the back, shall we? Now, something real interesting about the rear door that I like. It doesn't have your conventional handle right there. How's it look? Carpenter ant. Get off there. You're going to eat the car. It has our access to our rear seating is right here, up there. That's kind of neat. Kind of easy to get to, too. The door opens, it's a pretty good sized door opening, and it opens about 81%, I would say. There we are. Now, I have the front seat back further than I would normally have it for me, and look at all the room. There is plenty of leg room back here. Plenty of room. You also have easily accessible USB-C ports. You have a very small drive shaft tunnel, so if you have to put 3 people across here, which you absolutely could, they don't have to splay excessively in the leg department. The belt line's a little higher than the front, and the window goes, oh, someone locked the windows. Hang on. There we are. Oh boy, they always lock the windows in these cars. Almost 100%, but not quite. I'd say 93%. But good headroom, good leg room, and the rake of the rear seat is very comfortable. I find there's a little bit of lumbar support here, so it's good. It's very good. You have a center. Instead of having what I would call an independent map light situation, you have this. I don't think you can just turn on one of them, but you just kind of do that to turn them on. They both turn on. It's nice. LEDs, of course, in this day and age. Now let's check out our armrest. Always important. 2 little cup holders for little cups. And I find the armrest angle to be jaunty. Very good. This is nice. You could take a long road trip in this, I think, and I don't think your rear seat passengers would. Well, depends on who they are. They might complain anyway. But we have nothing to put like a tablet or anything here. On this side, we have this really tight mesh. So, but you could get I think you could probably, a really small laptop you could get there, but you could definitely get a tablet in there for your access, ease of access. So again, excellent room back here, for especially considering this is, I would personally definitely classify this as a mid-size car, because that's what it is. It almost has full-size room in the back seat. What's the EPA say? What do they say? Oh, hang on. Let's get my thing here. The EPA classifies this as a mid-size. Wow, I agree. I concur. So, there we are, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody else. We have a very, very nice interior. Oh, it's kind of blown out there. There, that's better. A very nice interior on our Kia K4 GT line. I'm liking this car more already, and just wait till we get it out on the road, because it really impresses me with the fact that it's $28,000 and you get a lot for that. And it's just a nice car. Shall we proceed? But of course. Wow, look at that beautiful, it would be even more beautiful if it was actually clean. Sorry about that. We've had so much rain. That's why this grass is, as you watch this video, this grass is actually growing up and is going to completely cover the car if I don't move it soon. But anyway, this beautiful wheel, oh, look at that, some other journo did something terrible here. This is a beautiful alloy wheel, and it is what size? It is what do you think? It's 18. One of my favorite tire sizes. But this is a 235/40 R18 Kumho, which is a Korean make that makes very, very good tires. And since this is a Korean car, it's not surprising that we have Korean tires. And it has nice, big, look at the size of that, and it's even shiny. Your brake caliper there, your rotor is a pretty good size there. The brakes on this car seem fine to me. Again, when you have 2,900 pounds as your curb weight, you don't need enormous brakes to get the job done. And these definitely get the job done. And with our 107-inch wheelbase, there we go. Look at how long this car looks. It really isn't that big, but then again, it's not small. This is a good sized car. But again, our fastback, this looks like it has an absolutely massive sunroof, but it's pretty much an average size, I think. I could be wrong about that. It's a pretty good size. But I still love this rear seat access right there. And the styling of this car is lovely. I just focus on it because it's beautiful. And let's come around the rear end here with this very beautiful rear end. And what appears to be a very small trunk lid, but it actually is not. Hey, looky there. Here is our trunk. And there is 14.6 cubic feet of room in this trunk. The finish is not the nicest in the world. This is not like European car quality, but it's definitely good enough, and you got so much space back here for putting all kinds of stuff. The opening itself is not massively huge, but it's a good size. And you have here's how you fold down your seat backs up there, which is, I believe, looks like 60/40 to me, to increase your room into the rear passenger compartment when you need to haul larger things. Underneath this little piece here, we have a beautiful temporary spare tire. And where's all your goods and services here? Are they in the side here? I can't hardly see because I have these new glasses that are great, but they insist on being dark most of the time because they want to protect your eyes from the UV. So, but anyway, you got a lot of room back here. It's very deep.
It's very deep. It's like Carnegie Hall, the echo in here. But again, they managed to have a very roomy rear seat while also having an extremely roomy trunk. It's well done. It's not power. You don't need power. This, unlike the hood, that's very, very light. And look at that beautiful styling, huh? It says, I am the K4 and I'm ahead of you. So enjoy. You can't even see the exhaust ports there because they're hidden. They're tucked in. And what's the color of this thing? Let's look. Hell, I have to tell you because I'm curious about it. It's almost like a kind of a teal sort of affair. Hang on there. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. It is, in fact, yes. The interior is black, and the exterior color is, oh, isn't that great? Morning haze. We have a morning haze K4. You can have what you want, but I'll go with the morning haze. And with that, let's poke around in that interior and see what we got, because if it's anything as good as the exterior, it's a very beautiful car indeed. You know, it's a big measure of a navigation system. By the way, that wasn't the car. It was an app. But one of my big measurements is when I decide to go a different route. Like they have a route they plan out for you and you stick to part of it, but sometimes you'll deviate from it because you just want to go a slightly different direction. The main reason I use navigation when I know where I'm going anyway is to get traffic updates and that sort of thing. And to me, it's a measure of a navigation system about how quickly they recognize the fact that you have altered course. And they'll do one of two things. They'll try to twist your arm and make you turn around. They try to make you into the do a U-turn in some dangerous place and go back and go the way they told you to. But the really good ones now, and this is changing more and more, is they'll just alter the route. Okay, you don't want to go that direction, we'll go to this. Yeah, we'll go this way. So this system actually has not been bad at all on this car. Well, shall I put the map up? I'll put the map up for you. There you go. And it's now agreed with me that we're going where we're going. It gives one a sense of power. And speaking of which, we just have our little 2-liter non-turbocharged inline 4-cylinder engine that does not have gasoline direct injection, but instead has that wonderful port fuel injection. And I find the power to be very good. It's a very interesting transmission. As near as I can tell from the Monroney, there's two transmissions that they put in the K4. One is a conventional 8-speed automatic, and the other is an intelligent variable transmission, an IVT. And that one, I believe, is what we have on this car because it's not initially obvious in driving it simply because it shifts much like a conventional automatic. And I believe you got your paddle shifters and you got your manual setting here, so it has 8 forward speeds. But it is a constantly variable type of thing. And I think it's doing a very good job overall with both in smoothness, and my sense is I'm getting good mileage. It's just my sense. I don't really have proof of that yet, but it seems like it's fairly economical. So these are all good things to have on your car. A sense of economy, and it's a nice engine so far. I was
pleasantly surprised because one of the reasons that this car has a very reasonable price point is it's not loaded down in the engine compartment with any kind of turbocharging apparatus. And that's actually quite a bit of stuff that this engine doesn't have burdening it. Even though it would you can get I think there is a turbo in the sport version and GT version or something. I think you can get a turbocharged version of this. But the version I'm driving right now, which the trim level is, well, what are we? Oh, we're in morning haze. It's the GT line, thank you. Thank you. The GT line seems to be, there we go, a real nice balance of good stuff, things that you need and want. It has a very sophisticated, matter of fact, I can even do this if I want to. There we are, the car's steering itself. I think it's called highway driving assist, something like that. But it has your full boat of adaptive cruise control and things like that. It has a very, very good, I believe it's, what kind of sound system is it? I think it's like Harman Kardon or something good. Bose. I'll look that up also. Well, I've already discussed that at some point. I haven't. But anyway, it's got a real nice set of standard equipment on it that makes it a very likable car. Again, but not too much frippery so that you have this ridiculous high price. You know, this thing is, I believe the sticker's about 28, and that's, you know, $10,000 less than most compact SUVs these days that are what I would describe as fairly comparably equipped to this. It's nice. I'm so far so good. I do enjoy. It's gone. One thing they've done is they have gone more to they're real proud of this. I always use GM as my benchmark for how they're blending the instrument cluster flat screen with the center flat screen display touchscreen over here, so that it's just one big thing. And this is very nicely done. I think the graphics are really good and that sort of thing. But it's taken some physical, not all of them, but some physical buttons and things like that out so that you have to use touchscreen. And then every time you have to use touchscreen, you take your eyes off the road. And yeah, with most cars nowadays, you can use a spoken command system to do basic stuff. But I don't like doing that because it takes too long. I like these just going bang, bang. Turn off the radio, you know, change the channel, tink, 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 something easy. Something straightforward that you do not have to ever take your eyes off the road. And you don't have to look at anything but what's in front of you, what your driving is telling you. I think that's the best way to go, personally. But everybody's jumping on the bandwagon of having a system that is primarily touchscreen based. And that's disappointing. Hyundai, which includes the Hyundai family of vehicles, including Kia and Genesis, has seemed to be really pretty reasonable about all this stuff. But they're starting to get pulled in to the virtual reality situations. And whenever you see anybody bragging that they're using any kind of artificial intelligence, that's a bad sign, not a good sign. First of all, there is no such thing. Second of all, it's mainly marketing. And third of all, in so many cases, it doesn't work very well. All right, the trick here is, this is one of my favorite little stretches of road, which is, it's just getting on the highway, but it's a good test of all kinds of things, like handling. And we'll get to experience the non-turbo inline, spinning up, as we say. Whee! Oh God, I got a lot of stuff in this car flowing around. All right.
Oh, I had to slow down for this guy. I didn't get the spool up experience. Of course, I say spool up and most people think of turbochargers. But like I said, no turbocharging here. Here we go. It revs freely, this car. That's one thing I really like about it. This engine is a very willing partner. And it has, I believe, between 3,500 and 4,000 miles on it. So I would say the engine is pretty much broken in. And yes, I'll argue anybody that engines still need to break in. They do. Because and tolerances, let me pontificate, if I may. When you have most engines compared to the old days, especially given modern construction techniques of how they build engines, how much of it is robotically controlled, digitally supervised, and so the bottom line is the tolerances are a lot tighter than they used to be on various parts, and there's all kinds of reasons why that's better. You get more efficiency out of the engine if the tolerances are tighter, especially for things like, well, let's say like your piston and your piston rings and how they fit in the cylinders and all this kind of stuff. Well, they still have to break in. In fact, I would argue that a tighter tolerance requires a little more break in for all the parts to seat properly. That's how I feel about it. Anyway, so given that, you have a situation where it is still important to break your car in. What does that mean? Nothing except don't be a complete whiz-bang idiot for the first, how about 3,500 miles? Just be gradual. And like that always said in the owner's manual, and I don't even know if they still do this, vary your speed a lot, let everything break in, seat in, and everything else. If you take the trouble to do that, right after you get the car, and you pick up the car and it has like 23 miles on it, it will really, really help the longevity of the engine if you do that. It really will. I mean that. I mean that sincerely and with great sincerity. Do that little stuff. It's amazing in life, but especially in your mechanical life, a few little steps taken at the onset will help ensure things last and wear properly. And not only that, if you bed the engine in nicely and it's in really good shape in that regard as far as everything being worn in properly, not only will the engine last longer, but you'll get better fuel efficiency and better power. I mean, everything. Uh-oh, car's taking over. Automatically adjusted to the posted speed limit. I don't want it to do that. I gotta turn that off. It's a real easy thing. You just hit the plus or minus on the adaptive cruise control, and that'll cancel that out anyway. It's not a big deal, but I don't like it doing it, period, ever. Well, there's a brand new ZT Elite zero turn mower. I forget what brand that is. Bad Boy or something like that. I don't know. Nothing's more beautiful than a new lawnmower, because it will never, ever, ever be that clean ever again. That's just the way it is. Okay, so what else can I say about this? I am unsure. Let me do this. This car is slightly louder than I would have expected it to be. I don't know if I have the noise canceling. It's not noise canceling at all, but the windshield that is designed to be a quieter windshield, simply because it has another a layer of something in between the layers of glass that help keep it quiet, just generally quiet it down. It's like an insulation, if you will. I'm not sure if it has that or not, but I think there's a bit of road noise, but it's not bad road noise. It's just from the tires, literally. And it's not bad.
but it just seems a little louder than I would have expected. What's the wind like right now? Let's have a look. I don't see the trees blowing all about, so I don't think we're... isn't that pretty? I love these totally chrome tractor trailer tanks on these things, because you can see the highway going by. You can see yourself. You can see yourself in the reflection. It's part of the joys of highway driving, if you're on a big interstate like this one right here, because otherwise they are a bit mundane. However, they do have their delights, and that's one of the rarest of the rare, that delight. But it qualifies as a delight. So anyway, right now the highway driving assistant system is activated, which simply means it's tracing the lane. Excuse me. And it does it, in my opinion, pretty damn good. This is something that the Hyundai family, Hyundai, Kia, Genesis, has always done well. Better than a lot of other manufacturers. Better than a lot of manufacturers that charge a hell of a lot more for their products. The Kia is such an interesting brand in that between Hyundai and Genesis, where does it fit? Well, it's more performance oriented than the Hyundai. But it also seems to be a place where technology is not experimented with. Well, that's kind of what they're doing. But they put some new technologies, especially when it comes to performance on these cars. They have different engines, all kinds of different transmissions. This, incidentally, has a very, very nice suspension on it, in my opinion, for the kind of driving I like to do and the way I like a suspension to respond, in that it is a sport-tuned suspension. So it's fairly firm, that keeps the car well controlled. But the ride quality is really nice on this thing. I mean, I don't know if you just saw, I just went through this dippy thing, and it just floats through it nicely, but it's still pleasingly firm in that it will... Oops, geez, nice signal, you stupid. See, this is why it's a good thing I'm a professional. And you have people doing that stuff like they're suddenly changing lanes and not indicating or doing everything else. But it's a very nice suspension. Oh no, are we going to have what I think we're going to have? Congestion. Yep. Oh, and here's a sign to tell us about our congestion. Through work zone. Well, okay. All right, fine. I'm not going to put you folks through this. I'm putting you to sleep for a little bit. Welcome to the car down under. Did Kia succeed or did they blunder? Well, I think they've done a fine job here. As you can see, here is our multi-link rear suspension device thing structure. We have, as is so standard today, we have a unibody with a subframe, which is just laying right there. Your subframe. Whee! There it is, there it is, there it is. That your suspension components are bolted onto, which serves two purposes. It isolates the suspension from the rest of the vehicle, and it also provides a more substantial mounting point and structure for the suspension itself. And this is very familiar. If you know your Kias and your Hyundais, this will look very familiar to you, because we have a huge, massive sideways link here. I mean, it's impressive, and it's right here. And then you have a front back, a lateral. Well, this is your lateral link, and this is what I call your front back link right there. And it's right over here.
And then you have your cup down here, which is your lower, it's not an A-arm, it is just a lower arm that contains the spring itself right here. Now, rather than have a coilover spring arrangement, the shock absorber is over here, outside, outboard if you will, and then there's our spring. And as you can see, there is no differential, there is no drive shaft, and that is, oh look, I can hear a little bit of an echo. And that is because this is a front wheel drive vehicle. The drive wheels being these up here, and this one up here. So, as is common practice now, we're seeing more and more of this cladding material. It's not strong, it's extremely lightweight, but it serves to provide a little bit of aerodynamic streamlining, because they discovered that one of the ways they could help increase fuel efficiency is by making the vehicle more aerodynamic. Now, in a lot of trucks and things like that, they've made them bricks basically in terms of their overall outside appearance, and it's not the world's best way to get fuel economy and to make it aerodynamic. But one thing that does help and does not do anything to upset their styling sensibilities is to put in all this cladding to streamline the lower part, where we have all these, normally you have all these bits just sticking out everywhere. And look, we even have what looks like a skid plate up front. It's not, but I will say that the engine has got some good protection underneath it, provided that you're not actually rock climbing or anything. But the car has decent ground clearance for a two-wheel drive sedan. It's good. Something else it has that is kind of impressive to me is there is excellent wheel travel. This is in full compression right here, and this is pretty much at full extension over here. And it's got enough play in it and got enough travel that the car maintains its control very, very well, especially over bumpy corners. So all in all, you can see there's a high level, in my opinion, of fit and finish. Everything is well finished to help the rust situation. But there'll be pieces like this piece of metal right here, which I believe your fuel tank is right there. This piece of metal holding everything up, that's eventually going to rust and fall off here in New England. All these little pipe pen things right here, all this heat material as far as protecting you from heat inside the cabin, a heat deflector, if you will, or just a piece of insulation. What happens with these things, it's already started. Look here. Is that starting to rust, or is that just the color? Actually, that's just the color. But what happens is those bolts and nuts tend to rust. And in some cases, on some vehicles, they'll fall off over time. I'm really hoping that, and I think this maybe has been happening, people have been complaining about rust with all kinds of different manufacturers, and Kia and Hyundai was one of them. Up here in New England, we had a lot of trouble with older ones, with all kinds of rust through and perforation and all kinds of mess. But the companies have, Kia, Hyundai, Genesis, that group, has been listening, and I think they've done a lot of things to improve the situation pretty dramatically, so that you can get more longevity out of your vehicle. And again, one of the things I love about the K4 is the fact that it has a non-turbocharged 4-cylinder engine in it. At least this one does. And the simplicity level is high, which will help your overall reliability. And the more reliable the car is, the more likely you are to keep it longer. And from an environmental standpoint, from an economic standpoint, that's one of the best things you can do, is buy a vehicle and keep it a long time. Maintain it, and I would also make the claim that I think you're a safer driver in a vehicle you've been driving for like 10 years, 20 years, because you're familiar with it and you know everything, its moods, what it does under all kinds of driving circumstances. So anyway, there's a lot to be said for that. But anyway, here is our very svelte rear muffler. And everything is very, very well assembled here. And there's a lot of nice, a lot of this stuff will just keep salt, road salt and things like that just away from the body, because you got a lot of protection here, a lot of plastic parts that are covering up and protecting some of the metallic parts. So there you go. So that is in fact our rear suspension on our beautiful 2025 Kia K4.
Well, that's our 2025 Kia K4 GT line. So the base price of this vehicle is $25,190. And with options and all kinds of little goodies like destination charges, our sticker came to $28,345. Now this is a very impressive car, and something I need to point out is during my tenure with the vehicle, where I was not easy on it at all, I got 37 miles per gallon in a week of driving. And that is almost hybrid territory. And it does it all with a very simple setup. It doesn't have turbocharging, it doesn't have direct fuel injection, it's got good old port injection. And all in all, it's a very simple package and yet very sophisticated in how it goes about doing its business. Not a real powerhouse, but at the same time, it gets very good performance all around, in my opinion. And it has a lot of room in it for a compact. So what do you want, man? If you're in the market for a new small sedan, I tell you what, get one of these because it's not small and it's beautiful. And so are you, and you be careful out there.
Do whatever the tube tells you. You dress like the tube, you eat like the tube, you raise your children like the tube, you even think like the tube. This is mass madness, you maniacs. In God's name, you people are the real thing. We are the illusion.